earlier this afternoon, I had a Jehovah's Witness come to my door, and just for a second, for just a hot second, I thought it was divine intervention encouraging me to just switch cults from the red and black cult that I'm currently in to the Jehovah's cult, because the red and black one currently is just not filling the cup.
Well, we're both doomsday cults. Yeah. I wanted to go down to the South American jungle and drink. What did that guy? Was it Jim? Who was the guy that they suicided? About 150 of them. What did they drink? Jez, do you remember the guy's name?
No.
Who was the guy that committed suicide? Now I'm going to have to find out. Yeah, I know how you feel, Fiona. I really do. I really question why. But we'll get to all of that. Jez,
G'day.
how you feel? Sun came up this morning?
Yeah, it did. Yep, nearly saw it live. Jonestown. Jim Jones. And what did they drink? Kool-Aid. They literally drink Kool-Aid that was lethally laced with cyanide. Well, there's an option. What do you reckon? Ritual suicide for the three of us?
I didn't ask her if she could assist in that, but that certainly sounds better than how I felt today.
Yeah. Well, look, there's only one place to start, and it's umpiring. And do you guys mind just getting comfortable for a second?
Yeah, please. I don't think I have it in me, and I'm handballing very, very happily to you. So please do me proud.
Well, look, I'm not going to go through each decision. I think it's pointless. I'm also not going to even have a crack at the umpires necessarily, because to my mind, I think they're corrupt. And when I say corrupt, I'm not necessarily saying that they are on the take or that we need to check their bank accounts or anything like that. That could get me into trouble, couldn't it, Jez? He's nodding sagely. Although, of course, I'm playing a character here. It's not really me. But to me, it's the people that try and gaslight you into thinking that umpires don't matter.
Yeah.
Or try and claim that, well, we lost by 50 points and those decisions only amounted to a few goals, so that doesn't matter. First thing I want to say is...
Fuck off.
Yeah, okay. That's the first thing I want to say. It's fuck off. Second thing I want to point to, we sit there and dissect the minutiae of which players impacted what contests and when they did it, and we talk about how those things cause momentum shifts. Everyone recognises that momentum is a thing in football. It's more broad than just AFL football, Aussie rules football, I should say. Momentum is a thing in sport. Everyone knows it. And the final score is irrelevant. If a player had burst through and kicked 2 goals from the midfield at whatever minute mark it was in the third quarter when Draper's free kick wasn't paid, that started the rot, everyone would be talking about it, how he broke open the game and what a game changer that was. So to those people that say the final result didn't matter because of the size of the margin, footy maths doesn't work that way. So just, again, to Fiona, your point, fuck off.
Mm-hmm.
Other thing I want to say is there's very few rules in this game that are black and white. You know, if a ball goes over the boundary line or is it a goal or not, they are black and white rules. Sometimes we don't know whether they've happened or not. We can't tell, but they're black and white. But most rules in this game are interpretations.
Yeah.
And again, use that term gaslighting. You want to do what Damien Barrett did today, and I suspect the AFL will do through the week, which is take those decisions in isolation. And Damien Barrett claimed that he had no problem with the Jai Menzies decision because this reason and that reason, and it's not just whether a player's within 9 metres, there's other factors. Sure, you can do that. This game is about interpretation of rules. And of the 1,000 times that rule be interpreted by umpires through the season, is only one occasion that's a free kick, and that's against us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same with the Draper chopping the arms and the deliberate and the dropping the ball. Every single time those decisions were interpreted this weekend, they were interpreted a way that is counter to the way they were adjudicated against us last night, whether it was the decision to not pay us a free kick like Draper or the decision to play Geelong free kicks like the Menzies decision. It was basically 20 minutes of a complete change of interpretation of rules to favour the Geelong Football Club. And I haven't watched the replay, and I'm not going to watch the replay. I don't know if it was one umpire in particular, or whether it was two, or all three. I suspect there might have was 17. Okay, I'm not sure who he was. It might have been 17. But don't gaslight me either and say that those free kicks were somehow justified in isolation. They're not. And so finally, to everyone that tweeted back at me today or has had a go at people criticising umpires, mind you, I saw today tweets from Carlton fans saying, and last night saying, I hate Essendon, but I saw a heap of those people roundly criticising umpires who are not Essendon supporters. So for those people that turn around and say, well, we wasted our ascendancy in the second quarter, we didn't hit the scoreboard enough, we dropped our heads, we shouldn't have, just fuck off, stick it up your ass. The umpires determined that game. Well, the umpires were the reason Geelong won last night. Geelong may have won anyway, and it might have been a close game, and they won by a goal. But in a game which was very wet in the first half, we know how taxing those games are on the legs of the players. In that game, Geelong might have won it on their merits, but I suspect we may have, because I think we're still the better team, and I think the umpires handed them the 4 points. You can't tell me any different. You can't gaslight me to make me think otherwise. And go fuck yourself, umpires. Go fuck yourself to everyone that says it was fair last night. It wasn't, and it's 4 points robbed. All right, I'm off the soapbox.
Nailed it.
How long did that go for?
I mean, I could have sat here and listened to you go on for another 20 minutes on it, because I know you and I support you getting passionate about the umpires a lot. I don't think I've said this year ever tweeted or said on this podcast that the umpires have cost us a game. I said, in fact, the opposite, where I think we got lucky with the Draper thing in Adelaide. I said on this podcast, I think Adelaide, Tex Walker should have gone for goal. So I've said the exact opposite. But there is so my point being, I'm just trying to get the bias out of the way for people who are saying you can't blame the umps for a loss. Well, I never have, but do not try and tell me, as you just said, you cannot tell me with even the lawyer sitting in this meeting right now cannot tell me in any way that the umpires did not fix that game last night in 7 minutes. And to the people who were saying to me, because this is the only thing they're coming at me at, because I was stating the logic, they're coming at me with, but good teams just bounce back from that and just, forget about that. And I said, but can anybody give me an example of a game this year where there has been such a profound fixing of consecutive big decisions which literally ended up going the other way? Not only did we not get the ascendancy in the calls, but they literally went the other way and resulted in Geelong goals. Give me an example of a game where Sydney was in that position, where Carlton was on the end of 7 minutes of 4 really bad calls which affected the momentum in such a big way. No one could give me a game, because I watch a lot of footy and I don't recall a game where it's happened. every single game has 50-50 calls and a handful of bad decisions. All of them do, which we get up in arms. But it is very, very rare where it's like all four umpires lost their collective minds, and all of a sudden we're immune to actually paying a free kick for Essendon. That's what it felt like. It felt like a spell had been cast over them for the 7 minutes. So don't tell me good teams bounce back from that. Of course you won't. Firstly, you've got the crowd going crazy. I've maintained on this podcast before that we exacerbate it for the players. They hear the crowd going crazy. They can't help but feel aggravated themselves because the crowd is going crazy. As supporters, we're going crazy. So they get aggravated and think they're due the free kick. And when it happens in such a, aggressive manner, they all drop their bundles. And then you've got at the same time, Geelong's feeling like it's running on air because they've gotten the rub of the green, and they're flying. So they're they're up to gear. So don't tell me good teams come back from that, because no one can give me an example of when a good team, in inverted commas, has come back from something like that.
I'll tell you why, though. A game has not been umpired like that, not just this year, this decade.
Yeah.
Name another game. So...
And you guys were both at the game. I was watching on TV. You should have heard the commentators. They were like, what is happening here, as much as you probably were at the ground. It was like a different, we'd been transported to a different planet, and where the umpires lost their minds. I can't even describe it. It was a surreal 7 minutes. It was daunting, very, very distressing. And I maintain I haven't seen it. So nobody can tell me that good teams come back from that. Bullshit. No, Geelong were no better than us. We were a ball's throw away from splitting them in half until that 7 minutes started. So don't tell me they were better. They were not better.
Suddenly we're 20 points down. Blink of an eye.
In the 7 minute blink of an eye.
No, well said. Jez, do you want to complete the trifecta?
Please, Jez. I've already had Brad Scott staying neutral in the press conference, and it made me very emotional. So please do not stay on a fence, of any kind of fence, because I swear to you, I will log out and leave the two of you to go at it.
Yeah, you're too big for the fence to be sitting on fences, mate.
No,
don't you dare do it to me.
The series of decisions was horrible, and I actually did go back and watch the replay. I've only watched the first three quarters. That series of decisions was ridiculous, and you're right, Fiona. The commentary team, which included Cameron Ling, were in every one of them were expressing extreme surprise or worse, saying that's the wrong call straight up.
Mm-hmm.
But
no, should I step out of the room for this part?
He's already been sentenced. He's going down. So
okay. Well, just don't go easy on him with that.
No. I might double his
yeah, please. Penalty.
Double his penalty.
I have had a sleep. I've digested my South Melbourne market dim sims. The tequila is through the system. I've calmed down. I've had a little nap, and my overarching feeling from the game is that Brad was right in his presser, that we were confronted with whatever described as an unfortunate series of circumstances, or whatever he said, which was barely disguised code for umpire shitfuckery.
Yeah, it's like Hitler invading Poland with an unfortunate circumstance. I mean, for fuck's sake.
We did have a quarter and a half left in the game, and we did drop our bundle, and I understand why we dropped our bundle in that third quarter. I was really disappointed with the last quarter. I was really disappointed that he couldn't bring the team back to ground zero. He couldn't get their heads back on straight, and they couldn't have at least batted out the last quarter better than they did. I was really disappointed with the reaction and the response to the situation they found. I don't doubt for one instant that the game had been pretty close. Like, it had actually been pretty close. We should have been further in front at halftime, but the game's pretty close. I had no doubt that the tow rope snapped in that 10 minutes. Suddenly, a game that was close was suddenly not close. Just circumstances where you could see the players were just so angry or dejected, just certainly affected by it. But we had a quarter and a half to get our shit together, and I was really disappointed that we couldn't. Yeah, they're not under 12s who should, go have a tantrum and have a cry. They really should have found a way in the quarter and a half that was left to get past that. Yeah, other than that, I agree with you wholeheartedly. None of the decisions were right. That we said at the ground solution that they weren't even borderline. All these things are interpretations, but these ones weren't even borderline.
The front-on contact gets paid no matter what. That is one of the rules that gets paid no matter what. It's a bit like taking the legs.
Yeah.
It's always get paid no matter the severity of it. And with Draper's one, there was two. He front-oned and he chopped his arms.
Yeah, we said at the time, it's either a front-on contact or an arm chop, but it's not none of the above.
It's not play on.
And
he was standing right there, and then he had the fucking audacity to say to Draper, he's just contesting the ball. He had the audacity, you absolute fuckhead. I mean, Jez, no, I don't agree that there was not a quarter and a half, all right? You got to get the half out. That third quarter, you can't put the half a quarter on their backs after the fuckery of the third quarter. I can maybe get on board with you for the fourth quarter, and that Brad couldn't kind of rally them into just staying in the moment and bringing in all the mental trickeries that they've been working on to kind of put the bad things out of their mind and to get on with the show. But I don't blame them for dropping their bundle in the entire third quarter after that happened. I don't blame them at all. Sport is supposed to be fair. This is a professional sport. No, they're not under 12s, but this is a professional competition.
That's right, they're not under 12 umpires either.
Correct, they're not under 12 umpires. This is a professional competition. How can you have... I'm okay, as I said, there are shocking calls every game, but not such obvious ones consecutively in a high-pressure, high moment of a game. It's unacceptable, and I don't blame him. What's the point? As the solution said, in a tweet? What's even the point?
The ones that got my goat the worst was the holding the ball calls. So the series of non-calls with Jack Bowes down our end and Tom Stewart down our end, and then Ridley gets the ball for probably 0.02 of a second, gets swamped by Stengel as soon as he gets it, and the umpire paid it, and Stengel kicked a goal. That they can't be explained. Those three cannot be rationalised.
But that's what I mean. Like, so if we're bemused and we're foregone, like how do we expect the players to just be like, oh, okay, you can cop that every second quarter or 2 or 3 a quarter, but not in such as I said, such an aggressive period. It takes your breath away.
And then even setting aside sort of how they must have felt after that period, if you just said, and maybe prearranged so that we know this is going to happen, after 2.5 quarters of slogging in the wet, if we just changed the score and added 20 points onto the Cats, we don't win that game 9 times out of 10. So irrespective of how they felt, the emotion, they didn't react, etc., it's giving a 20-point lead to Geelong. It was more than 20 points, wasn't it? They ended up being 20-something points ahead after we were a goal ahead, I think it was.
We were 3 points ahead when the 7 minutes started, when the 7 minutes of fuckery started.
Okay, so you give a team a 4-goal handicap.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen 9 times out of 10.
And I don't subscribe to some people saying, oh, we were shit in the second. Nah. I felt we were just a few forward entries improvement away from getting a nice little lead. Because we were ahead in the ruck. The matchup was going well. The whole purpose of bringing in the 2 rucks was doing its job, in that we all of a sudden started getting ascendancy in the clearances, which we've been down on in the past few weeks. So all of a sudden, that was a tick. The pressure was up, tick. We were lowering the eyes, tick. And then in the second quarter, all of a sudden, we started bombing it long and missing, not lowering the eyes and missing some very good leads from our forwards, or expecting Peter Wright to mark some absolutely atrocious kicks to him. So I think we were playing better, and I think it cost us the game. And as you said, Solution, no one will convince me otherwise.
And you know what? In that third quarter, we were only a goal or a couple of goals away from blowing the game open, getting the momentum.
That's right.
And the Cats dropping their heads. That's
right.
What happens. They're human beings.
Exactly.
They're not machines. They're not F1 cars. They're not even horses. They're people. And
I felt like we had, sorry, Solution, to interrupt.
No, you're right.
I felt like we had ascendancy in the mind game branch. I thought that was going beautifully. The Koning and Blixarves were getting rattled in the ruck. I thought that was going really well. So I'm sorry, but yeah, you can make an argument for the lack of ability to bounce back in the fourth. But honestly, there's a big part of me that just does not fucking blame them. Because fuck the umpires and fuck the AFL for conning us all that this is... You got the interstate teams complaining and bitching all week about inequality because they have to jump on a fucking flight. Well, how about you encourage the AFL to put all their resources into fucking making it an equal competition by improving the standard of umpiring and the rules so they can be umpired properly instead of whinging about flying to Melbourne.